Hey, what's up? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're going to be talking again about the iPhone 4S. I decided to put away my iPhone 6 and use nothing but the 4S for an entire week. So is it actually still usable in 2017? Or I guess late 2017 now. First off, let me just say that overall, I think that this was a very positive experience for me, as I found myself becoming less reliant upon my phone. I wasn't pulling it out every 10 minutes to check notifications, I wasn't checking Instagram every few hours, and all in all, I think I am probably better off having gone through it. That being said, if you can avoid it, don't use an iPhone 4S, it sucks. Okay, before those with an iPhone 4S freak out at me, keep in mind that I am used to my 4.7-inch iPhone 6 running iOS 10, or at least I was. I now have an iPhone 6s, but when I did this, I still had my iPhone 6. So to go to a smaller but thicker and heavier phone with only a 3.5-inch display running iOS 9 very poorly, to say the least, is difficult. iOS 9.3.5 sucks on the iPhone 4S. There's nothing good about it. It is just slow. If you use this phone regularly, you will be able to survive. It's not so awful that you can't use it, but if you're going from a better phone to the 4S, you're gonna have a really hard time. So there are a lot of things I want to hit on today, so let's get right into this. First off, again, iOS 9.3.5 absolutely stinks on the 4S. It's just horrible. It's way too slow. I don't know why Apple decided to let users upgrade to it. They should have stuck it on iOS 8. It would have been much better that way, but they didn't. And if you're like starting to type and getting angry at me for saying that, it's true. The iPhone 5 and 5C, if you run it on iOS 10, they run really well actually. They're not as fast as they used to be, but they actually perform fairly well. And that is their last version of iOS. The iPhone 4S's last version, iOS 9.3.5, is absolutely awful. It's so slow and it's brutal, and it can be very painful at times, and it hurts to use. It really does. Luckily, saving grace, it can now be jailbroken. Wow, saving grace. And the reason this is a saving grace is because it is actually possible to downgrade the iPhone 4S from iOS 9 to iOS 6, and it is mind-blowingly faster on iOS 6. And this is a video for a different time. I am planning on doing a video on this. I have jailbroken my 4S, but I am not going to downgrade it quite yet, because I want to talk about my experience living with this thing. Most people aren't going to be able to downgrade it. They're going to stick with 9.3.5, so I'm going to keep talking about that. But yes, it's finally jailbreakable. So it is important to note that the iPhone 4S does work for most tasks in day-to-day. And the reason for that is because it is on iOS 9. This is the only benefit of it, is that it can install pretty much any app that you use today. So all the latest versions of, say, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, it's all on this phone. And so it's not too bad in that sense. It can, have everything new. It's just super slow on all of those. So yeah, it's fully supported. That is easily the best thing about it. The positives kind of end there. There aren't a whole bunch of other positives when it comes down to it. For example, on Instagram and stuff, I said that I wasn't on Instagram as much anymore. The reason is because it was slow. Like, it was really hard to use. It was just too slow. I'll get to the specs as to why it's so slow in a few seconds here. The screen is also really small. This is just a personal thing. I think it's too small. I liked the iPhone 5 size a lot better, and of course I do like my iPhone 6s size too, even if it does sometimes feel a little bit big. I like having the nicer, bigger screen. This thing is just really small, which is nice in a few ways, but most media consumption and pretty much everything like that is really hard to do on here. Alright, specs wise, the reason that it is so slow is because it only has half a gigabyte of RAM. So it has Apple's A5 processor, which is nice. It's dual core, that's why it could go all the way up to iOS 9. The half gigabyte of RAM is why it is so darn slow on here. It just doesn't have enough memory to handle everything, and so that's a problem. Battery life was okay. It has 1,432 milliamps, and it lasted me alright because of the smaller screen. It doesn't suck up as much battery, which is nice. The screen itself, even though it's small, the resolution is actually really nice. You can't see pixels, which is great. 640 by 960, which, yeah, I won't go into every spec on this phone because I've done that in my Is It Worth It video, but for the most part, this thing performed fairly well. Anything I was was viewing looked nice and clean and crisp, and that was nice. So this thing does require a micro SIM card, which you might not know what that is, but essentially, you know, the SIM card in your phone, micro SIM card's probably bigger than the one you're using now. The standard right now is the nano SIM. Apple kind of pushed that in with the iPhone 5, which means the 4S was the last one to use the micro SIM card for the iPhone lineup. So I had to figure out some way to get it to work. This thing is locked to Bell, which is great because that's my carrier. I basically took like an old card and I had to kind of tape the SIM card to it to try to make it fit in the SIM tray, and I actually got it to work fine. So there's that. You can get adapters if you want, or you could just go to the company and just order a micro SIM card in the first place. Like I could order a micro SIM from Bell if I really want to. I was just testing and playing around with this, so I of course did not do that. The color of the iPhone 4S that I'm using is whites, and this is actually what I really like about the 4S is how amazing it looks. Like I would be in class or whatever and I'd just put it on my desk in the corner, and like during class I would look at it and be like, wow, you know, this thing might be slow, but it is a really nice looking phone, and it's so premium. I'm so glad Apple's kind of going back to that with the iPhone 10, but yeah, it's a really nice looking phone. Probably my favorite thing about this phone is how good it looks. It's just such a beautiful phone. Of course, it does have Siri, but I never ever use Siri, and most people I know never ever use Siri, so I'm not even going to talk about Siri. The camera I used a little bit, and it was pretty good. 8 megapixels. It's decent enough to take some nice shots. Not a whole lot to say on that, other than the camera is not bad, and lasted me fine. One little annoyance using this phone modern times here is it doesn't support LTE or 4G or whatever. It only supports up to 3G, which isn't great because 3G is quite slow in comparison to LTE, but I mean, it's livable still. You're probably not getting this phone to do a ton of internet browsing and stuff like that anyway. Bluetooth is fine on here. Obviously, I was able to use Bluetooth headphones with it, no problem. And it does have that old iPhone charging port, so it has the 30-pin port on the bottom, which I like this. You get like a little nostalgic feel whenever you plug these things in. It's really nice because I kind of miss my old iPhone 4 when I used to do that. So yeah, plus I've got tons of those chargers just lying around from buying phones like these, so that's no problem there. I have a lot more than lightning adapters. I don't have a ton of those. Plus, is it just me or were those chargers like way harder to break? Because I go through lightning adapters pretty fast, like my charging cords for my iPhone 6 and stuff, they have a tendency to just start breaking, and like I always have to electric tape them, but those ones always seem to be fine. I don't know, maybe that was just me. At the end of the day, it was a positive experience. I'm glad I used this thing for the most part. You know, sometimes it was painful when I had to look up stuff in school. Maybe there was a question I didn't understand or a physics concept or something like that, and I had to quickly, you know, try to look it up and see what the heck I was missing out on. And that was kind of hard, but for the most part, it isn't horrible. It's usable. It looks really nice. But the biggest thing, again, is the speed. It is very slow. What didn't help is this thing's actually only 8 gigabytes, so it's not a ton of space. I couldn't put a ton of stuff on it, but I was only using it for a week, so it wasn't a huge deal. I would say definitely avoid the 8 gigabyte model if you're going to buy one of these. I'm not sure why you're going to buy one of these, but if you are, just avoid it. So yeah, it's quite slow. iOS 9 is not a good version to be on. I wish it was on iOS 8 or iOS 7 even would be nicer. It's just, yeah, it's not great. Would I recommend using the iPhone 4S? No. If you're looking for a super budget phone like this, don't go for the 4S, go for the iPhone 5 or 5C. They are still they're fairly cheap. You can get one under $100 pretty easily, and you know, for the extra 20 or 30 bucks you're going to be paying from the iPhone 4S, you're going to be getting a way faster and nicer phone. So that's what I'd recommend going for. Try to avoid the 4S. If you're using one right now, I feel for you. I've done it. It isn't fun. It is usable. It's fully supported. It's technically still a usable phone. It's just painfully slow. And you know, if you're someone, I don't know, maybe your grandma really wants a phone so she can stay connected with you and text and call, I suppose that would probably be okay, but for the most part the average user is not going to like this. It does text and call fine, but again, it's even slow in messages and stuff like that, so I would recommend avoiding it if you can. Maybe get it for your collection if you're into that kind of thing, but otherwise I would take a hard pass on it. So yeah, that was my experience living with the iPhone 4S in 2017. So thanks for watching this. I know this is really late for uploading this video. I said I would do it a long time ago and I didn't. I did actually live the week, like it was probably May or June that I did the week. It was not long after I did the video on the 4S and I said if I get this amount of likes, I'll live with it for a week. It was a bit after that, but I just never got around to actually doing the video of it. So I wrote down my thoughts on it and then I never actually did the video. So I'm doing it now. Really sorry for the waits. At least I did it, right? So thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you found this video interesting at all. Leave a dislike if you would like to murder me in my sleep. Follow me on Instagram at 91.tech. Thanks again. Really appreciate all the support lately. This is Josh from 91 Tech, and I will see you all next time.